And it says you know you're a Mercedes customer much before you can afford one.
That is basically a desire built.
That's a desire being built, you know. The most important thing for anybody starting up a consumer business, I will always say, build your brand with confidence, with sharpness, but don't make it too sharp. Picasso had a famous saying very similar to that. You must have an idea of what you want to paint, but it should be a vague idea.
As my way progresses, keep on evolving.
This is also what I think Elon Musk said, you know, separate the signal from the noise, you know. It is the media which is convincing you that sustainability is the order of the day. And if you look at what is happening now around the world, even the governments are going back on sustainability.
But you mean to say they didn't start with that idea?
The idea was not that, but the market gave them a certain kind of feedback.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first podcast of Fashion Mantra with Vibhor. Today we have with us Mr. Jaydeep Shetty, right from Bombay, with his immense years of experience in this fashion industry. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jaydeep Shetty to you. Jaydeep ji, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Vibhor. It's a pleasure being here.
I would request you to kindly give us a few words of who Jaydeep is in this industry, as people would like to know you.
Okay, so I think there's anyway an identity crisis because I think most of us associate ourselves with the work we do. But I'm largely an entrepreneur of sorts. I've had roles as an independent entrepreneur, a working professional, and also what I do currently, consulting. My specialization really has been setting up new companies, and I've also been fortunate to have worked with some lovely people as well. Mr. B.S. Nagesh was the founding professional of Shoppers Stop. Mr. Kishore Biani, the founder of Future Group. I have set up, I was the first management team of Shoppers Stop, the first management team of Inox, in fact, employee number 2, and the first business head of the department store called Central, which I ran for about 3.5 years during incubation. I was the first marketing head of the BBC outside of London. I ran my own brand called Mineral for a very, very long time, 8 years. Until COVID happened and then we closed it down. And I've been consulting with multiple companies, both in the e-commerce and in the retail space. My last long-term consulting assignment was with a company called Jai Lakshmi Silks based out of Kochi. So that's really my background.
I heard you said that you have immense 30 years of experience in this industry. I would like to know what has evolved over the last 3 decades.
So when I look at my career, which started in the early 90s, you know, that's when retail was really getting organized. Of course, you're a lot younger, but at that point of time, there were maybe 2 or 3 fashion brands in this country. There was the Dick Jams and the Ciarams, you know, and the Bimals of the world. And on the garmenting side, there was really, of course, there was Raymond always. On the garment side, it was really Van Heusen and Louis Philippe. You know, there was a company called Madura Garments, which was then a Coatsweiler company, and they had 2 very powerful brands, Van Heusen and Louis Philippe. Floshem shoes came into India around that time. So that's when retail started getting organized. The first department stores started coming in. Shoppers Stop came in, Littlewoods, which became Westside, came in. There was Spencer's. I think gradually as fashion started getting organized, as department stores started getting organized, brands started getting organized. So the distribution came first and then the supply chain started getting organized, you know. Then Landmark Group came in with lifestyle. So that was, I think, that's the decade in which fashion actually started going by brand, label, customers started recognizing things. It was also the decade in which India started getting liberalized. Satellite TV came in, you saw Star, you saw Z, there were 9 satellite channels, so you know what people were wearing abroad. You started getting inspired by those things. There was more money in our hands, and it was a strange decade, and most of us got 20%, 30% increments every year, you know. So the future was wonderful at that point in time. That really was the transition period. I think the men's retail got completely organized, especially the branded sector. Ethnic still took time to come in. I think it was the 2000s when ethnic wear, especially in women, started getting organized.
You just told about organized retail. So there is an era which you might know, you might relate. The kinds of brands which people like me used to go to Vardhan Market or a Bada Bazaar to buy clothes.
Yeah.
Now even a youngster like me would not like to go to a place like a Vardhan Market, and rather I'll go to a AC market, AC store like a Zudio or a Shein. and rather try out 10 clothes and buy it out? What
Yeah.
looks good on me?
So the Bardhan market, they were really called arcade businesses, like there was an Elko arcade. There were multiple small shops where people went and shopped. The mall started coming in India around the late 90s, 97, 98, when the Inorbits and the DLF malls, they all started coming in. In Bombay, there was something called Crossroads, which doesn't exist anymore. But then the mall culture started coming in. Then Forum came in Bangalore. So when the mall culture started coming in, they were the first guys to bring in entertainment and food along with fashion. So you see, all these other markets did not have the whole entertainment space. So when the whole space got organized and there was more emphasis on entertainment, malls became a place to hang out for the entire day. You shopped, watched a movie, had your lunch, you came into a mall at 10:30 and left at 5:30, 6 in the evening. And I think that was the second wave of retail. And you're right, today the younger generation doesn't want to go into those places and shop anymore. They've really become wholesalers.
What our viewers would like to know is, like, today, example, I am a college boy. I am a 20-year-old college boy and I want to go and buy clothes for me. Now, I have limited pocket money. Maybe like I can only spend 2,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees a month on my clothes, or maximum 4,000 rupees a month. Now, how do I buy my clothes? What should I do exactly?
So the 20-year-old is mobile first and e-commerce first. I believe the first thing he checks is actually online and what is available. Because these are what we call thin wallet customers, their spending is not very high. They are looking, firstly, they probably look at discounts online. If they find something which is discounted online, then that's great. Else they'll go, unless you're a very, come from a very rich family, otherwise you look at a Style Bazaar, a V2 Retail, you look at a Style Union down south, you look at those equivalents, look at places like even, even D-Mart today sells clothes, So you look at those cheaper things. Zudio is very popular, those are classically places that you would go and check out and see what you get there. Or what a lot of smart kids do, they wait for the sales, H&M again has great, when they have a sale, it's absolutely great entry points. But those are places that they go and shop. They're not really necessarily picking up from the branded segment, the premium branded segment. That's the customer.
I understood what you would like to say is, what our experience says, what my friends or even my younger generations, my cousins, what they say is they went and bought clothes in these malls. They did 5-7 washes, 10 washes, and the garments are gone. So they are worried, they are coming to me and asking, ये कैसे हो गया कि हमने तो पहना था, बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा था, it was looking lovely, और अभी जब हम लोग वॉश करा के और इसको रिपीट करना चाह रहे हैं, ये तो कपड़ा ही गया है, ये तो हम पहन ही नहीं सकते. If I wear, my mother will kill me, or my mother will say, what are you wearing? And then my pocket money is got wasted. My mother will shout at me कि क्या खरीद के ले आया, तुमको खाली लुक्स समझ में आता है, तुमको कपड़े लेने का मतलब नहीं मालूम है, you don't know how to buy clothes. So like this I heard a lot of people face problems कि पैसा लिमिटेड है, 4-5 हज़ार रुपये में कपड़ा खरीदना है और कपड़े खरीदने का समझ है नहीं, किसी ने सिखाया नहीं. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं है, किसी ने सिखाया नहीं, तो हमें कोई सिखाए कि कपड़े कैसे खरीदते या कपड़े कैसे पहनते हैं, तो फिर हमें वो यूज़ करना आएगा. तो आपके हिसाब से वो क्या है?
सो इंडियन मार्केट में ना एक पैराडॉक्स है. देयर आर टू थिंग्स विच आर ग्रोइंग. वन इज द मास एंड, जो आप कह रहे हो, जो फास्ट फैशन है, जहाँ पे क्वालिटी की ज़्यादा अहमियत नहीं है. You just re-engineered the product to make it cheaper. Use the simplest fabric, just made product will look good on a hanger. But the customer is also expecting, यार मैंने 600 रुपये में टी-शर्ट खरीदा, 6 बार पहनूंगा चल जाएगा मेरे लिए. I'm not going to spend $19.99 on a good premium branded shirt. So I think there's a customer for that. That's also a customer जो unbranded से branded में आ रहा है. Because अगर आप 10 साल पहले देखोगे, जो फैशन एट बिग बाजार शुरू हुआ था, वो थॉट प्रोसेस था, उनका जो कोर ऑडियंस था सिंपल था कि जो अनब्रांडेड मार्केट से खरीद रहे हैं उनको ब्रांड तक तो ले आओ, सो आई थिंक वो एक सेक्शन है जो फास्ट फैशन का है, जहाँ पे सस्टेनेबिलिटी, ड्यूरेबिलिटी की कोई अहमियत नहीं है और कोई वो कस्टमर ढूंढता भी नहीं है. In fact, some of the foreign fast fashion also brands, without naming them, I'll tell you, they make really, they sell jeans at $16.99, and after 4 washes, you can't even wear those jeans. But the customer takes that for granted. So I think we have to balance it out. ये गलत है सोचना कि सब लोग क्वालिटी खरीदेंगे, but because quality also comes with a certain amount of affordability, So I think we'll have to see. I think the mid market is under pressure. The mass end is growing, and there is a lot of focus on premiumization. So the typical 25 to 40-year-old everybody now started looking for quality. They want to know how the product is made, what kind of finishes. So much so they even if you see creator economy हम बोलते हैं, even influencers are now talking of quality of the product in many of their posts. So I think that there is a focus. And it's not just in fashion. अगर आप देखोगे skin care, cosmetic, everybody asking about quality today. So I think that market, that shift is pretty significant at this point of time.
So here we were asking you, Shetty ji, about if I am a regular college goer. Somebody I am a 20-year-old boy. I still am depending on pocket money from my mother and father. Even they can afford, but they still would like to keep me under control. So that's generally what happens with our youngsters is that their parents fund their money. Now the kid wants to look very fashionable. मतलब मैं 20 साल का हूँ तो मैं तो एकदम fashionable दिखना चाहूँगा. But what ends up happening is मैं fashionable कपड़े खरीदता हूँ, मैं जाता हूँ बाजार में fashionable कपड़े खरीद के लेके आता हूँ एकदम अच्छे beautiful, और मैं 5-10 वर्ष के बाद देखता हूँ कि वो पूरे गए, मेरे पैसे पानी में. और मैं अगर जाके मेरे मम्मी पापा को दिखाऊँ कि मेरे पैसे पानी में गए, तो वो लोग तो मेरे को डांट देंगे, झाड़ देंगे, और मैं वो सह नहीं सकता. मेरे को मालूम है कि अल्टीमेटली मैंने गलत कपड़े खरीदे, बट आपका 30 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है ये चीज़ों में. सो मैं आपके थ्रू एक आज मैसेज पहुंचाना चाहता हूँ, मे बी 2 or 3 गुड टिप्स, कि भाई आप 600 का कपड़ा खरीदे या 6000 का खरीदे या 60,000 का खरीदे, क्या 3 चीज़ें आपको, एक टी शर्ट हो गया या शर्ट हो गया, आपको देख के खरीदना चाहिए?
मैं जो सलाह दूंगा, आई डोंट थिंक इट विल बी नेसेसरली 20 साल के लोगों के लिए. आई विल प्रॉब्ली लुक एट लिटिल ओल्डर ऑडियंस, बिकॉज जो 2000-3000 रुपये के बजट में काम करे, आई विल ऑलवेज एडवाइस गो ऑनलाइन एंड लुक एट द डिस्काउंट. इफ यू वांट टू बाय ब्रांड्स, वेट फॉर डिस्काउंट सीजन, क्योंकि 50-70% आपको मिलता है. एंड देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ गुड ब्रांड्स जहाँ से आप खरीद सकते हैं. दैट्स अ गुड स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, स्पेशली फॉर मेल्स. या अगर आप if you're looking at a slightly older age group, I would say, remember एक चीज़ कि India is a tropical climate. यहाँ पे जहाँ पे ठंड भी पड़ती है सिर्फ 3 महीने पड़ती है. The rest of the time you're in and out sweating. So always look at comfort in the fabric first, Second, understand your own body type. Buy things that flatter your body type, A certain fit might work for you, may not work for me, and vice versa. Even within the male thing, you have close to 8 body types, 2 people may not be able to carry off the same skinny. There are certain Levi's fits. Levi's makes 17 fits. Only 2 or 3 work for me, but there are some of people I know who can, straddle about 7 to 8 fits. So you got to understand what is your fit and how are you going to coordinate the product. Try not to buy things that are very difficult to coordinate with. For example, you bought a pastel color trouser as a man. Extremely difficult to start pairing it and find the right coordinated shirt to wear it with, yeah. And firstly, pastel is also not a color that you can wear regularly to work. It's only resort wear, yeah. So those are things you absolutely have to take care of. Third is look at the construction of that product. Does it fit well? Is the fabric good? And what are the wash care? You don't want to buy something which is cheap, जो आपको लगे कि 1200-1500 में मिलता है, but then suddenly it says dry clean. Every dry clean cycle is going to set you back by 180-200 rupees. So 3 times you dry clean, you're going to spend another 50% on that product.
अच्छा, ये तो आपने बहुत मतलब लोगों को मालूम नहीं है ये चीज़ें कि बाद में भी कॉस्ट लगता है चीज़ों रेक्टिफाई करने का. आपने एक बोला कंफर्ट के बारे में, मैं आपके जो पॉइंट आपने 3 पॉइंट रखा. आपने एक बोला कंफर्ट, आपने एक बोला कौन से फिट आपको बैठेगा, कौन से फिट नहीं बैठेगा, फिर आपने एक कलर्स की बात करी. सो क्या मैं रिक्वेस्ट कर सकता हूँ कि आप एक एक चीज़ के बारे में थोड़ा सा यूज़र्स को थोड़ा डेप्थ में एक्सप्लेन करें कि कंफर्ट का मतलब आप एज अ नॉर्मल यूज़र, आपने बोला 25 से 30 साल के यूज़र के बारे में बात किया, तो वो कंफर्ट कैसे चेक करे कपड़े में?
So you wear it, breathability, you know. Do you feel, is it cotton or is it a product which breathes, you know? Because आप एक product, like a shirt, आप 12 घंटा पहनोगे. You'll start wearing it at 10 o'clock. You'll wear it all the way till 8 o'clock. Will it feel fresh even in the evenings? Yeah. If you're wearing casual wear, if you're wearing t-shirts, there are products which are odor free, you know. So if you're out on a holiday, on a vacation, odor free products will not smell at the end of the day, you know. So those are things that you should look at.
How do you check that as a user?
Very often features on a product are available in the literature of the product. If you go on to a website, the product description will have it. I think those are features we must seek out, you know. Seek out information. If you go into a store, ask the staff. The staff are usually very knowledgeable on the product, you know. Third is the kind of loosing that the product has on the waist, on the underarm, because those are areas which encounter the highest amount of friction, you know. You don't want to wear something which is tight on the underarm, the armhole is small, because if you're going to be sweating all day in 3 or 4 washes, you're going to have underarm patches on those products, you know, your collar is going to get frayed. So all those things, and the quality of construction, how the buttons are made, how it is stitched, you know, is it functional? If you're buying a trouser, is there enough space in the pockets deep enough to keep my mobile or keep my wallet? All those things is what you need to look at. You know, nowadays you get trousers which are partly elasticated. So, you know, you have a heavy meal, it adjusts to your size. Those are beautiful functional features. And more as we get more stretch yarns and all in products, things have become more easy, breathable, and more you know, tensile in the fact that you can move around a lot more. I think those are aspects that we must look at, you know.
आपने अभी एक बात बोला स्ट्रेच यार्न, तो कैन यू एक्सप्लेन द मीनिंग ऑफ स्ट्रेच यार्न एंड स्ट्रेच यार्न से कस्टमर को क्या फायदा है?
So there are two ways of stretch. There is mechanical stretch, which often you find in knitted garments as well. You know, where you can move, where you can actually feel it. You know, there's a 2-way stretch and there's a 4-way stretch. But with the introduction of spandex, and initially when people started using spandex or lycra, always 2 and 3%. Today you get 8% lycra products. Earlier, lycra was not such a popular product because if you use too much lycra, it could, the pilling problem used to happen, you know. Pilling is when the friction causes a certain amount of visible rashes on a product, you know, especially at friction points. But nowadays, the kind of products that you get, some of the more premium brands are doing great. Like you take the typical products from Madura, Arvind, and all the other brands, even online, you get some great products. And they're great for travel. Imagine you're a business traveler, you're taking a flight, you're on a 2.5 hour flight, then you're going to be sitting in an Uber or a car for the next 1 hour, then you're going to reach the office. You don't want things that look all crumpled at the end of the day. Lycra also spandex has a tendency to not crumple. So it looks fresh day after day, you know. So, and there's a lot of innovation that's happened in products. These are things we must look out for.
So as a user, as a normal user, how do I look out after these things when I am selecting a fabric or a cloth? मैं कोई कपड़ा खरीदने गया, suppose today I went to Myntra. मैं मिंत्रा में गया, मिंत्रा में जाके मैं तो सीधा टी शर्ट चेक करूंगा, टी शर्ट मेरे को जो कलर दिखेगा मैं वो खरीद लूंगा. बट फिर एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मेरे पास एक टी शर्ट आएगा 1800 रुपए का, मेरे को मालूम चलेगा मैंने 10 वॉशेस पहना, फिर वो चला गया. सो एज अ यूज़र मैं ये चीज़ कैसे ध्यान दूँ कि मेरे जो कपड़े में जो मेरे को लॉन्ग लास्टिंग चाहिए, कि ये कपड़ा मैं 50 बार पहनूँ, कि 50 बार अगर मेरा टिकेगा तो मेरा ROI आएगा एज अ एंड यूज़र कि मेरे कपड़े का मैंने वैल्यू निकाला. That's what an Indian user generally wants. Yeah. So how do I do that?
So my reading is typically people want it to last 15 to 20 washes typically, yeah, with products other than jeans which you can wear time after time after time. If you go into any website, whether Myntra, Amazon, Ajio, you would normally do a search filter. Either you want to look at, you know, you can look at fabric blends, yeah, you want to look at cotton, you want to look at 100% cotton, what kind of fit, do you want a slim fit, classic fit, oversized, so then you select those. Then you look at your price budget range, that within this range, it will throw up a lot of options. Then you look at some known brands, some non-known brands. The unknown ones, I would always say, boss, it doesn't matter if it's an unknown, give it a look in, because product description dekho, kya likha hai, you know. If it says this is odor free and this is this, look at the reviews, you know. very often I think one moment of truth is यार it's like a restaurant ना, जब हम कहीं खाने जाते हैं हम देखते हैं यार कितने लोगों ने खाया है, जोमेटो पे इसका क्या है, स्विगी पे क्या है, गूगल रिव्यू पे कितना है, अरे 4.6 है, 7,000 रिव्यूज है, यू से बॉस दिस इज वर्किंग, यू नो, सो यू टेक अ रिस्क ऑन दैट. सम पीपल प्रेफर ओनली बाइंग एट मार्केट प्लेसेस बिकॉज मार्केट प्लेसेस में गारंटीड रिटर्न का ये है, तो पीपल गो ओनली इनटू मार्केट प्लेसेस.
तो मैं आपको एक थोड़ा सा और फ्रेम करता हूँ क्वेश्चन. सपोज आई एम अ राहुल अरोड़ा फ्रॉम दिल्ली, आई एम 27 years old.
जी.
मेरे को 5,000 रुपीज़ में आज कपड़े खरीदने हैं मिंत्रा पे. मिंत्रा पे, अजियो पे, अमेजन पे, जहाँ भी खरीदने हैं मेरे को खरीदने हैं. मैं गूगल में गया
जी.
गूगल में जाके मैंने सर्च मारा टी शर्ट्स. ठीक है, तो नाउ कैन यू गाइड मी अ स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्रोसेस कि मेरे को बेस्ट कंफर्टेबल क्लोथ्स चाहिए जो आपने बोला 20 वॉशेस तक चले, तो मैं कैसे खरीदूं?
Okay. So Rahul Arora first goes in. He knows whether he wears a slim fit or does he want a comfort fit. He first looks for what kind of. First you look at what options are there. Then you see what brands are there. Because as a user you already know that certain brands you like. You can also shortlist the brands. Then you say, okay, I want cotton. I want a blend. Yeah. Or there are also wool. There's merino wool shirts or t-shirts also, you know, and those are also breathable.
Should we start with the brand selection first or the fabric selection first?
Depends on what you are. Remember there are customers who are brand conscious, okay? Because brands, Vibhor, you must remember brands also.
I am telling you about Rahul Arora. Rahul Arora is not knowing anything. Rahul Arora ने देखा है कि भाई मैं लंदन के कपड़े, ये सब कपड़े लेके आता हूँ मैं, बहुत बढ़िया चलता है.
Then Rahul Arora should look at segregating not by brand but by popularity. Then you know which are the more popular brands. The algorithm will automatically show which are the most popular brands. Then he knows that these are what everybody is wearing. He likes a particular style. Then he also checks, is there a colorway on this, you know. He suddenly realizes that everybody's got a contrast piping round neck shirt, t-shirt, and this is what is doing well, or printed shirts are doing well. Then he looks at what other options do I have. Then he looks at how does it look on the model. Then he goes into his sizing guide, you know. Model क्या है, 6 feet inches उसका waist 34 है. Does it look good on him? Will it look good on me? You know, there's some amount of imagination that comes in. Then you look at wash care, you know, ironing. Is it easy to care? Is it odor free? You can't get everything in a product. So you have to realize what is priority for you, what resonates more with your choices. And then finally you think, okay, what am I going to wear it with and where am I going to wear it, you know. So I think that's how you bring in, you know. So you keep, I would say, exterminating some choices and then start, you build your funnel and then make your final selection. And finally, as you like something before, you keep adding it to your cart. आपने 4-5 चीजें कार्ट में डाल दिए, आपने फिर then you start evaluating the cart. Is this better or is this better? So it's always a matter of, you know, doing your workflow in such a way that finally you come with the right selection. So that is what I would say.
So मैं आपके हिसाब से जो मेरे को समझ में आया जो आपने बोला कि मैं राहुल अरोड़ा जाऊँगा, देखूँगा एवरीथिंग ऑन द वेबसाइट, ऑन द मिंत्रा और एनी ऐप आई विल सी. मैं जाके सेलेक्ट कर दूंगा क्लोथ्स एज पर द पॉपुलैरिटी, फिर उसमें टॉप सेलिंग में मैं करके बाय कर लूँगा.
राइट.
ये मेरे को समझ में आ गया. नाउ सपोजिंगली आई वांट टू ट्राई आउट अ न्यू ब्रांड. टुडे देयर आर लॉट ऑफ ब्रांड. जो ब्रांड पुराना हो गया, एवरीवन आई थिंक नोज हियर, जो ब्रांड पुराना हो गया दैट इज गोइंग टू सेल वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. या तो वो डिस्काउंट में मिलेगा बहुत रेयर. बट टुडे आई एम वांट क्लोथ्स टुमारो. मेरे को कल चाहिए या परसों चाहिए, मे बी नेक्स्ट वीक चाहिए. आई हैव अ पार्टी और अ कॉफी शॉप और आई हैव टू गो फॉर अ डिनर. मेरे पास पुराने कपड़े, आई एम नॉट फीलिंग नाइस. देन व्हाट विल आई एंड अप डूइंग? आई विल एंड अप अगेन गोइंग टू अ स्टोर नियर बाय एंड फिर मेरे को अनकंफर्टेबल क्लोथ्स आएंगे, फिर मेरे को 5-10 वॉश में फेंकना पड़ेगा. नाउ इफ अ राहुल अरोड़ा लाइक मी वांट्स टू ट्राई आउट न्यू क्लोथ्स, न्यू ब्रांड, बट मेरे को वही फीचर्स चाहिए और वही कंफर्ट चाहिए जो मेरे को एक 3,000 के टी शर्ट में मिलेगा, जो कि मेरा आज बजट है 2,000 रुपया. सो मैं उस पर कैसे डिराइव करूँ?
So then Rahul Arora has two paths. One is he can continue going through the marketplaces and doing his investigation. The alternate, I would change my interest settings on my Instagram and start seeking out brands which match my interests, you know. So as you like brands, so Instagram works in a way that, you know, once you like a certain kind of brand, a certain considered set, you get more and more options there. Start evaluating those, because there are a lot of interesting independent brands which are doing great product, you know, and start seeking out those brands. Look at the Instagram comments, look at the styles that they have, and then maybe you want to go into the website and buy it, or you buy it through marketplace. But that's how you discover new brands. So that's a beautiful way to do it. And today Instagram, I mean, 10 out of 10 fashion brands are on Instagram, because you can't survive without Instagram.
But how do I trust that brand? मतलब मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ा जो क्वेश्चन है आपके लिए कि हमारे व्यूअर्स को डर लगता है नया ब्रांड ट्राई करने में. वो जाते हैं, नया ब्रांड खरीदते हैं, फिर डिलीवरी आता है उसका, फिर वापस से मालूम चलता है इसमें तो ये गड़बड़ है.
कितने फॉलोअर्स है, कितना एंगेजमेंट है, ब्रांड कितना पुराना है. आई थिंक यू विल हैव टू लुक एट अदर सोर्सेज ऑफ क्रेडिबिलिटी टू रीइंफोर्स. For somebody like Rahul, if he's not very experimental, he's not going to try out something new. Then he would go to the considered set of brands only. But if you're a little more experimental, you can take those chances. See, zyada karke, if a certain brand has 10-15,000 followers, you know it's a credible brand, you know. Plus you can look at the main comments on those things, you know, have people like the product. So those are, I think, things that based on which you make your decisions.
So Rahul today is like a guy who has already faced in issues 7-8 times. वो अपने पॉकेट मनी से खर्चा कर चुका है, नुकसान कर चुका है. Now he is scared of trying out a new brand. But still उसके अंदर में है कि मैं नया ब्रांड ट्राई करूँ, because I want to try out something and become smarter. That's what Indians are. कि भाई हम 5,000 का चीज भी 3,000 में लेके आते हैं, 2,000 में लेके आते हैं. That's हम लोग वो स्मार्ट है.
So ये क्या कर, now a Rahul kind of a person who's actually turned skeptical or cynical about brands, उसके लिए safest option है ना सर, COD कर लो. जब आएगा तभी आप डिसाइड करो, फिर आप डिसाइड, you know. But I'm saying COD कर लो, don't take it for granted. But जहाँ तक मेरा opinion है, there are lots of good brands in the market. ऐसा नहीं कि it is so difficult to get a great product. Sometimes I think it is being too skeptical. I would always encourage people to be experimental on their choices.
How does a Rahul find a new brand on Google? If he has to try on new clothes on Google, how does he go and find a new brand which will match his comfort?
I wouldn't go to Google. I'll go and check out ChatGPT, Perplexity. I'll do my research using those, you know. I mean, I would use AI for this.
And what keywords should he type?
Look for certain blends and okay. I would go and ask simply what kind of t-shirt blends will work best for the Indian market. I'm looking for a fashion brand. It will throw up some choices. What brands would you recommend, you know? And then I would go and, you know, also search, look at what hashtags. Start searching those hashtags on Instagram, you know. T-shirts, cotton t-shirts, loose fits, oversized shirts, cargo pants, you know, quick dry t-shirts, odor-free shirts, you know, those are things that I would try. So then that's how you, so everybody's journey is different, but that's how you will start your filtration process. So it's largely exploratory. Once you've started fine-tuning your universe, and very important, Rahul has friends, right? All of us have friends who've got great clothes. Ask them, where do you buy? What do you buy? What does it cost? You know, start seeking out those brands. But I feel between Instagram, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or even a Copilot, and you know your own work on marketplaces, you should be able to fine tune and get what you want. That's where the journey becomes simpler.
So again, my question to you is, I am Rahul Arora. Again, I am asking the same question. So Rahul Arora says कि मैं मेरे ग्रुप में I want to be the best guy. मतलब मेरे को सब देखने चाहिए. I want to be the
most stylish guy.
Most stylish guy.
हाँ.
So आपका एक आर्टिकल था लास्ट मंथ में आपने जो बताया था. You were talking about Supima cotton. So would you recommend a guy like Rahul to try out a Supima cotton T-shirt and wear it?
Supima will be a little more expensive. He's got to know that because you know if he's on a budget, Supima can be on the higher side. There is Supima now. There's Suveen cotton, which are more premium, but a Supima cotton shirt is brilliant, and a lot of people are doing both round necks and even polo PKs in Supima. I would definitely recommend someone like a Rahul to look at this, especially in the summer weather. Absolutely.
So आपके हिसाब से एक सुपीमा कॉटन टी शर्ट कोई भी एक अच्छे ब्रांड का या कोई भी डिसेंट ब्रांड का क्या कॉस्ट करना चाहिए राहुल के लिए?
You know, anywhere between 1999 for a polo PK to 3499.
And do you recommend him to buy it instead of a 1,000 rupees T-shirt which he is buying?
Yes, I would, for two reasons. One is Supima cotton, the way it picks up color, it's much sharper. The saturation is much better, longer lasting, will go through washes. So it's not the same as buying a 699 or a 1,000 rupee t-shirt. So for that reason, yes, I would tell him to consider this.
And nowadays I heard there's a lot of brands coming in market. And आपने बोला अभी 1999 में मिलेगा. But as you told कि भाई बहुत सारे डिस्काउंट के डेज भी आते हैं जहाँ पे डिस्काउंट नहीं मिलता है. तो अगर आपको डिस्काउंट के टाइम पे 1499 रुपीज़ में सुपीमा कॉटन टी शर्ट मिले वर्सेज अ 999 टी शर्ट नॉर्मल कॉटन, एंड आपको मालूम है राहुल अरोड़ा है, मैं वही सेम फैमिली से बिलोंग करता हूँ, मेरे को सेम मेरे लोगों के बीच में आई वॉन्ट टू लुक ड्रेस नाइस, लुक ब्यूटिफुल एंड बी एफर्टलेसली स्टाइलिश. So would you recommend me to buy a Supima cotton t-shirt, or would you still recommend me to try out different colors in a cotton t-shirt?
No, I'd make that choice. That's a very easy choice, yeah. But Vibhor, remember that Supima cotton is one fabric. You also have to see how that t-shirt is constructed. The t-shirt's got to be constructed well, you know. The finishing, everything has to be good. Because remember, fabric is one part of a garment. You know, it's like water is necessary for soup, but it's not everything. You've got to also see the overall construction, the fit, the contrast collar, the elasticated bands on this, you know, everything you got to go into that detail. What kind of buttoning are they using? How much is the placket? How much is the front opening? The
But
gate?
as a user बहुत difficult हो जाता है, आप जो बता रहे हैं सर. तो should he go on the reviews and see the reviews?
You should go by the reviews. Go by the reviews, especially on the marketplace, because इतने सारे reviews आते हैं, उसमें detailed reviews भी आ जाते हैं. Also, if the brand has an Instagram account, वहाँ पर भी काफ़ी details रहते हैं.
Okay.
But I would definitely suggest.
Okay. So आपने एक बताया कि you are a 30 years old veteran in this industry. आपने टॉप से बॉटम सब ब्रांड बिल्डिंग शॉपर स्टॉप में आपने देखा है, आपने फोरम के बारे में बात किया, आपने कलकत्ता में फर्स्ट आइनॉक्स के बारे में बात किया. सो आपके जर्नी में रिटेल हैज़ इवॉल्व्ड ओवर द ईयर्स. एक बीच में 2020 में एरा आया था कोविड का, कि जहाँ सब अपने घर पे 3 महीना मस्त बैठे थे एंड दे कुडंट मूव आउट बिकॉज ऑफ ऑब्वियस रीजंस. उसके बाद एक काफ़ी पैराडाइम शिफ्ट आया, द वे पीपल शॉप्ड. देयर इवॉल्व्ड अ लॉट ऑफ ई कॉमर्स मार्केट. पीपल स्टार्टेड बाइंग ऑनलाइन. ऑनलाइन में एक नया मार्केट खुल गया. सो उसके बारे में आपका क्या सोचना है कि प्री कोविड एंड पोस्ट कोविड व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस ऑफ ट्रस्ट लेवल between buying online and buying offline?
So online came in, you know, if you look at the early 2010s, online only meant discount. COVID के बाद ही वो trend शुरू हो गया that people will start buying full price online. Yeah, people would never buy. Otherwise, if you remember Flipkart, Myntra, we used to only go there for discounts. So that एक छापा था कि online मतलब discount पे मिलेगा. What also changed in that decade between 2010 and 2020 was people started dressing up for more occasions, you know. People started getting out more socially. So India, when I started my career, there were 2 or 3 peaks in the year. There was Pujo in Calcutta, which was the big season, Diwali in a Bombay or a Delhi. But as the years went by, all of India started celebrating all kinds of festivals. Non-Punjabi, non-North Indians also celebrating Karwa Chauth, you know, they observe it, you know. So they started observing it. Dasera is followed in some parts of the country which you don't expect it to be. Ganpati has become universal. People in Bombay are celebrating Onam. So we've started attributing importance to all these things, you know. We've started socializing, going out for birthdays. Friends' birthday is like a dress up. There's a kitty party culture, which we thought, you know, kitty party was an old auntie culture, but no, the younger women don't call it the kitty party anymore, but it's still, women still want to socialize among themselves. When Inox began, until the multiplex culture, PVR and Inox brought these in, that's when people actually started dressing up for a movie. But before that, people would just wear one t-shirt and jeans and go to a movie. There was no concept of looking good at a movie theatre. But, you know, Inox and PVR got this culture in. When COVID happened, everybody stayed at home the entire day. Yeah, people only started buying online, you know, and that's when I think the whole paradigm shift happened. So when COVID got over, there was a lot of revenge shopping which happened, And then people realize buying online is actually a very simple process, you know. And today, if you know your fit in a particular brand, then you just ordering it online because you think, I don't want to take out my car and go to the mall and pick it up. So there's a huge, like if you, 2022 and 23, post-COVID, most brands were showing 30-40% growth. Yeah.
Achha.
Yeah. Just post, because the stores were shut, right? So uska base hi kam tha. But there was huge growth. But even on 2020, they were growing by 15%. One of the biggest influences which we don't talk about enough is that India, a lot of our family shopping is not just around festive, but also the marriage calendar.
Okay.
During marriage season, gold, clothing, everything changes, you know. So if the marriage calendar is strong, shopping goes up. So these are things that we've started learning, and every company has now started planning inventory better. Before 2020, it was pile them high, sell them cheap, which really means कि यार जितना बनाना है बनाओ, सेल में डिस्काउंट पे हम निकाल लेंगे. तो क्या होता था, हमने आदत लगा दी थी कस्टमर्स को कि यार कस्टमर बोलता था छोड़ना, ये 50% मिलने ही वाला है 4 महीने में, तो दे वुड डिले देयर शॉपिंग. सो फुल प्राइस सेल विच यूज्ड टू बी 70% ऑफ आवर टॉप लाइन and 30% was discounted, became 50% full price, 50% discounted.
Achha.
Now after 2020-21, consciously all retailers said, look, we're not going to discount a lot now, we'll start going slow on discount. We're also not going to build up inventory. Because, you know, there is a saying that, you know, a lot of companies are good on P&L, but cash flow is tight. You know, that's typically what happened because everybody was piled up with inventory. So I think there's a lot more sensibility coming in. The third thing that happened is, I use the term open source more as a metaphor, but a lot of independent brands started coming in and they started making product equivalent to the marquee brands, you know. So you didn't necessarily have to buy those Van Heusen and Louis Philippe and Arrow. There are other people making similar products.
Achha.
So these independent brands started coming in, you know. That whole era of brands like Rare Rabbit which came in, you know. Even in ethnic wear, a lot of brands came in. We started becoming dominant online.
तो आपके हिसाब से if a person is buying a t-shirt, आपने जो बताया known brand से at maybe like a 4999 और आप बोलते हैं नया ब्रांड पे जाके आप वो सेम चीज सेम कपड़ा आपको 3499 में सेम चीज मिल जाएगा.
Is very likely, sir. Very likely. Very likely. And that one of the reasons is because the business model allows these brands to do it. They are not running these fancy shops in fancy malls, but they're still making a great product.
तो आपके हिसाब से प्रोडक्ट का कॉस्ट इज लेस but the overheads is making them sell higher.
No, exactly. The overheads is also making them sell higher.
So how do a user like me or someone understand कि भाई ये कपड़े का real value क्या है? अगर मैं कोई शर्ट पहन रहा हूँ आज, good shirt which I want to wear for an office, I end up spending 3499 rupees or 3999 or maybe a 4999. मेरे को comfort चाहिए. सारे यूजर्स को कंफर्ट चाहिए भाई 10 से आपने बोला 10 से 8 पहनना है तो माय क्लोथ शुड बी शोइंग एंटायर डे. ऐसा नहीं कि शाम में 5-6 बजे फेड हो जाए मेरे को जाकर चेंज करना पड़े. बट व्हाट हैपेंस इज आई डोंट ट्रस्ट न्यू ब्रांड्स. ट्रस्ट इतना जल्दी बिल्ड होता नहीं है. सो हाउ डू आई स्टार्ट गोइंग एंड ट्राइंग न्यू ब्रांड्स एंड बाइंग एट maybe a 2999 or a 3499 rupees and वो सेम क्वालिटी ऑफ क्लोथ मैं इंस्टेड ऑफ पेइंग अ बिगर ब्रांड जो जाके मैं शॉपिंग मॉल में खरीदूंगा और उसका रेंट है शॉपिंग मॉल पे, उसके स्टाफ है, उसका एसी का बजट है,
सप्लाई चेन का कॉस्ट है,
मार्जिन्स है, तो मैं वो एलिमिनेट करके डायरेक्ट जाके उनके D2C वेबसाइट या मार्केट प्लेस से खरीद लेता हूँ. सो ये मेरे को चॉइस करना चाहिए या मेरे को ये अवॉइड करना चाहिए?
Depends on the person because देखिए वर्ल्ड कंपनी जापान हैज अ वेरी फेमस सेइंग दैट देयर आर फैशन अवेयर एंड फैशन कॉन्शियस. तो ये जो ब्रांड्स है जो मार्की ब्रांड्स है दे आल्सो सिग्नल वेल्थ because you're wearing a certain logo. So there's a customer who wants a Tommy Hilfiger, he wants a Calvin Klein, he wants a Hugo Boss because somewhere that flash value of that badge is very important. बोलता है it doesn't matter if it's expensive but I want to show. You know, it's like those guys who buy luxury watches, right? They want to show. It's like how our car is, you know. Because it signals a certain position in society, signals. So I think for that customer, the marquee brands will remain because he's not buying purely on a rational basis. But somebody who's looking at, who's fashion aware, yeah, but not the bad signaling kind of a customer. He experiments a lot more with these kind of brands because he doesn't want to buy he says, oh, these are brands that everybody's wearing, you know. I know Levi's and Jack and Jones are the popular denim brand, but I want to try something different. And there are the niche brands, you know, there are tons of niche brands which are catering to the young.
So सर हमारे जो यूजर्स है जो अभी देख रहे हैं ये शो, इनका देखने का पर्पस यही है कि दे आर स्केर्ड टू ट्राई न्यू ब्रांड्स बट दे आर एबल टू ट्राई एंड दे वांट टू ट्राई न्यू ब्रांड्स. तो उनको आपसे ये टिप्स चाहिए कि मैं नए ब्रांड अगर खरीदूं तो मैं किस बेसिस में खरीदूं. मेरा ट्रस्ट लेवल आज यहाँ पे है, मेरे को ट्रस्ट लेवल यहाँ पहुँचाना है कि मैं नए ब्रांड्स ट्राई करूँ.
See, your biggest assurance for these for this kind of a customer is the peer group, because somebody in the peer group will experiment, and if you talk that peer group influences a lot of what we buy in our daily lives are also influenced by our peer group. So when I'm just giving you an example of Rare Rabbit. When Rare Rabbit started getting traction in the early 2021s, people saw other people were wearing Rare Rabbit. So people went to Instagram, they saw the imagery of Rare Rabbit. Same thing happened with the Snatch, with the Bear House. So I think it was really word of mouth and that buzz that is created among the peer group, you know. Like-minded people, thinking alike, thinking something is fashionable. I think that's what gains you that traction. Perfect. Yeah.
So जयदीप जी, हमारे व्यूअर्स को जानना है कि भाई 3499 हो या 2999 हो चाहे 4999 हो, आपके बोलने का मतलब है कि 90% ऑफ द क्लोथ्स आर सेम. सो आवर व्यूअर्स को, जैसे आपने बताया कि आपने स्टार्टअप्स में काम किया, आपने नए ब्रांड्स को भी देखा, पुराने ब्रांड्स को भी देखा. सो व्यूअर्स वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट स्ट्रक्चर डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ न्यू ब्रांड एंड एन ओल्ड ब्रांड. क्यों नया ब्रांड आपको सेम प्रोडक्ट आपको सस्ते में दे रहा है और वो प्रोडक्ट अच्छा है.
So classically, let's understand, when you have an enterprise, a large enterprise, you got massive central cost structures, okay? Your management bandwidth, your sampling rooms, your designers, your merchandisers, your QC. You built everything, you built an entire set of machinery to execute at a large scale. So all these add up to the cost, yeah? Second is you have a large supply chain cost because you're building different warehouses, you're investing in technology, and then you have a certain way of working with a vendor where you're doing what is called FOB production, where the vendor is, you're just contracting out the garment itself, So they pick up and they all have their margins. Your garmenter has a margin with the mill and so on and so forth, So the cost structures are very, very different. Plus you have the cost of running real estate. You've got wholesale, you have got trade, you've got trade margins. You're running these large shops in the greatest malls. You have an advertising cost because you need to keep face with the customer. Now look at a smaller setup where you're an entrepreneur, you've got experience, and when you're an entrepreneur and when you're a smaller player, you're looking at a great product, but you also want to do it at the minimum cost. So you've hacked the system, You know where you're going to source your fabric. There's so much more concentration in how you're sourcing it out. You don't create an entire design team. You start working, you gradually start building up. You don't look at full-time employees sometimes. You look at outsourcing some certain talents, Everything, right from your QC to your sourcing, everything. You start buying fabric directly from the mill, supplying it to a converter and telling him, now you convert, You're working with smaller workshops. The workshops are also not working with large overheads. So as you re-cost engineer, you're able to churn out an equally good product without the burden of this large central cost and the marketing cost and the real estate cost and the cost of operating and reporting on a day-to-day basis.
तो हमारा जो यूज़र है, जो हमारा जो व्यूअर है, उनका बेसिकली दे आर, एज यू अंडरस्टैंड, दे आर ऑल्सो वर्किंग. उनका भी कोई बिजनेस है, somebody is having a job, कोई IT में जॉब कर रहा है, कोई इधर उधर जॉब कर रहा है. उनको बेसिकली उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि आप ये ब्रांड है वो ब्रांड हो. अल्टीमेटली तो वो वैल्यू फॉर मनी ढूंढ रहा है. An Indian customer like me or anyone who's trying to look for value for money. So in that term and scenario, so is it okay for us to try out new brands, their products and buy it out, or should we still stick to a older brand, a marquee brand, and not change?
I think the people who are staying with the marquee brands are the people who are very keen that they have to signal their wealth or they have to signal their status. If you're not a status signaling kind, I would say definitely experiment. I would advise you, go and experiment with a lot of young great brands which are available, because they give you a lot more value for a lesser price, or they give you the same value at a much lower price. They have implemented like the Toyota lean manufacturing system, they've cut down their cost structure, they've cut down their processes. Everything that they save is finally being passed on to the customer, Whatever said and done, running a business online is not as expensive as running physical retail, And today everything is open source. Everybody making on the same Juki machines, Technology is not so out of bounds for anyone, What a really big brand has access to, you have access to a very similar factory, you have access to a very similar embroiderer, the same machine embroidery, the same fabric sources, the same mills. So it is really open source. You no longer, virtually any style or any innovation in the world can be replicated, without impinging on copyright or IP or whatever. So why not buy something which gives you more value?
So today our viewers would want to know some cheat codes from you. That's what we are going to do at every podcast of ours. So let's make this cost break up a little. So if there is a 5,000 rupees shirt, तो उसका प्रोडक्ट का कॉस्ट क्या होगा, ओवरहेड्स क्या होगा, मार्जिन क्या होगा, एंड मार्केटिंग एक्सपेंडिचर क्या होगा? Can you just break it out for us?
So if I take a typical large enterprise model of brand which is 500, 600 crores, 28% out of 100, which is the MRP, is the cost of product.
So मतलब आपने बोला कि 4999 है, तो 28% लगभग 1400 रुपए का
1400 रुपया
कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड हो गया.
और जो COGS है उसी में एक बफर है, because the cost structures and everybody is keeping margin in the system. Somebody else can probably, if you're making it at 28%, a smaller brand can probably make that at 23-24 rupees.
23-24%.
Yeah, 23-24%.
तो आपके हिसाब से 1400 का 1200 हो गया.
बिल्कुल.
Let's talk further. आपने बोला 1400 रुपए का हमारा कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड है, और उसमें एडेड एक्सपेंडिचर्स क्या है?
आपने एक वेयरहाउस लिखा, वेयरहाउस रखा, वेयरहाउस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम है, टेक्नोलॉजी में इम्प्लीमेंट किया है, तो यू हैव क्लोज टू 3.5% सप्लाई चेन कॉस्ट.
So that is लगभग 150 rupees to 200 rupees है supply chain cost.
Yes, the supply chain cost, and plus you have on e-commerce you have separate fulfillment costs.
That is like how much?
That will be another 1.5 to 2%.
Maybe around 100 rupees.
बिल्कुल.
Okay, then what is the cost of putting up a store? Generally अगर आप per piece बोले तो.
I won't go by per piece, but today to put up any store in a mall, 1,000 square foot store, would cost you nothing less than 1.5 crore. With stock and everything else. You have to give a deposit to the mall, you have to fit out the store, you've got to have 2 to 3 pieces per linear foot in the place. So by the time you fill up the store with 1,000 square foot का store, मतलब 1800 से 2,000 pieces है.
Okay, तो per piece पे अगर अब निकाले तो कितना लगभग एक अंदाजा अगर आ जाना चाहिए?
Very difficult to put that because you don't apportion it specifically to the store. But 2,000 pieces in a store, on a 1,000 square foot store, easily about a 25 lakh, 30 lakh at cost investment into the product. A 20 lakh investment.
20 lakh investment हो गया, plus recurring expenditure हो gया.
Yeah.
So
your salaries would be about 8%. Rentals would be about 15 to 18%. So all those costs build up. Over and above that, you still have a 4-5% marketing cost.
तो if I have to apportion, sir, between a 5,000 rupees product,
जी,
आपने बोला 1400 रुपए COGS हो गया,
1400 रुपया COGS हो गया,
250 रुपीज से 300 रुपीज आपने बोला वेयर हाउसिंग हो गया,
बिल्कुल,
100 रुपीज आपने बोला फुलफिलमेंट हो गया, और क्या क्या एक्सपेंडिचर में इस पे अपोर्शन करता हूँ?
सर आप सब कुछ पकड़ोगे ना तो वो फाइनली वो 80%, 80 to 83% तक जाएगा. Because you have all your costs. You look at any balance sheet or P&L of any large player, their EBIT margins are between 8% to 15%.
तो आपका बोलने का मतलब है कि अगर मेरे को 4999 में बेचा उस बंदे ने, तो उसको कॉस्ट पड़ेगा 4,100 रुपीज.
हाँ, आफ्टर एलोकेटिंग ऑल्सो द सेंट्रल ऑफिस कॉस्ट.
तो 4,100 रुपीज माइनस 1,700 रुपया जो आपने निकाला, तो 2,400 रुपया इज गोइंग इन marketing plus warehousing,
supply chain, franchise fees, trade margins, discounting, all that will come into play.
And what does this change for a startup or a new company, maybe relatively a 1-year-old or 2-year-old company?
So what the large enterprise is making for 28 rupees, the startup will make it for 24 rupees. The startup will sell it at 72 rupees, whereas the other person will sell it for 100 rupees. That is the difference.
तो उनका जो margin है,
They will still make a good 10-12%.
and उनका cost कैसे नीचे हो गया सर?
Because they don't, because one is they have cut on the sourcing model. They don't have real estate. They've decided to go D2C first, decided to go online first. They don't have massive sample rooms, showrooms, design teams. So they try and work as lean as possible. They don't try to build a system to deliver the thing. When you start building this entire system to deliver, that's when everything becomes expensive.
So if I am a 30-year-old boy or a 30-year-old man, I am looking to be well settled in my life.
जी.
मेरे को अच्छी जॉब लग गई आईटी में, मैं ट्रैवल भी करता हूँ, तो मेरे लिए तो फिर अगर मैं नया ब्रांड खरीदूँ या मार्की ब्रांड खरीदूँ, तो मेरे लिए तो कॉस्ट सेविंग है.
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल है, बिल्कुल है, बिल्कुल भी है. इनफैक्ट यू शुड, if you are looking at consciously spending, look at these independent brands, you know, independent or not the marquee brands. There's a lot of value in those as well. So there's huge opportunity.
So that is why the new age brands are doing good today in India.
Yeah, that is also why, and people are discovering it. You know, they are not. People are not that generation below 30 is not hung up on necessarily buying the badge brands. It doesn't matter.
Okay, you mean the fashion industry is evolving with this?
Well, I won't use the word evolving because, like I said, the marquee brands continue to do well, but they continue to do well with a different segment. But there's this emerging market which is happening. This is the emerging consumer who's buying the independents. I think that is where the story really starts, and that's a huge opportunity. Today, sir, in Myntra, you have 3,500 menswear brands. आप सोचो, just menswear में 3,500 brands है, एक marketplace पे. उसमें से I am saying there will be of course the 100 marquee brands, but there are at least another 100 to 150 extremely good second line brands which are making the same product that these marquee brands are doing.
And they are selling cheaper than that.
They are selling at a good 20 to 30% cheaper.
But उनका cost ही नीचे है, तो they are actually not making a loss.
Yeah.
But they are giving the user a better price.
Absolutely. They don't have an advertising agency which is being paid a retainership of 5 lakhs a month. You know, they don't have a separate campaign manager.
So our users actually don't know this. उनको मतलब उनको hidden cost structure के बारे में idea नहीं है चीज का.
Yeah, they don't know the machinery that goes behind all this. You know, also, you know, take a typical store ना आज के तारीख में आप एक मेंस फॉर्मल का ब्रांड का स्टोर खोलो 1000 स्क्वायर फीट का, आपको मिनिमम टू मिनिमम 6 लोग रखने पड़ेंगे. एंड योर एवरेज सैलरी इज अबाउट 25-30,000. सो योर 2 lakhs इज गोइंग इनटू जस्ट सैलरीज प्लस यू हैव इंसेंटिव्स फॉर दिस स्टाफ, यू नो, प्लस आपका 15% जा रहा है इनटू.
एंड ये सारे कस्टमर से लेते हैं लोग वापस.
Everything has to come back from a customer. I mean, there are, to be fair, there are some D2C brands which also private equity funded, so they are still burning money. But that equation is changing as well.
तो मतलब अल्टीमेटली आपका बोलना है कि अगर मैं एक एंटरप्राइजिंग आदमी हूँ, आई एम अ एंटरप्रेन्योर और आई एम अ वर्किंग प्रोफेशनल, मेरे को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता मैं मार्की ब्रांड लूँ या नॉन मार्की ब्रांड लूँ, अनटिल अनलेस मैं ब्रांड
दिखाना नहीं चाहता. हाँ, दिखाना चाहता हूँ.
तो मेरे को खाली अगर कंफर्टेबल क्लोथिंग चाहिए, तो आपके हिसाब से ये नए ब्रांड्स जो कर रहे हैं
इज ब्रिलियंट, इज ब्यूटिफुल.
ओके, दैट इज अ वेरी गुड लर्निंग फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स टुडे. सो सर, हम अभी बात कर रहे थे, तो पहले सर कपड़े की अगर हम बात करें, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट क्लोथ्स. अर्लियर इट्स ओनली यूज्ड टू बी शर्ट्स, ट्राउजर्स, डेनिम्स एंड टी शर्ट्स. Nowadays we are seeing a lot of evolvement of chinos. Chinos have come in, shorts has come in, quad sets आ गए हैं, and embroidered shirts आ गए हैं, और there are different kind of shirts, different collars, and अलग अलग टाइप के पैंट्स भी आ गए हैं. शॉर्ट्स में भी चेंजेस हो गए हैं, ट्रैक पैंट्स में भी चेंजेस हो गए हैं. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कंफर्टेबल पैंट्स कमिंग अप. व्हाई डू यू थिंक दिस हैज कम अप इन द लास्ट 3-4 years?
One is, I think there is a dress down culture. The 1990s and early 2000s was about office was formal, the rest was casual. Late 90s is when the smart casual culture came in, where the Banana Republics and the Gaps of the world started doing well. And India also had its own, the Allen Solis and all came, which was in the smart casual. So smart casual grew because Indian terrain and a lot of Indian brands came in that space. And all through the 2000s, you found smart casual coming in. 2010 saw the advent of athleisure, where people started wearing even t-shirts on chinos, So weekend became athleisure. So in athleisure was basically meant that this was sportswear but not active sportswear. You're not wearing it to play a sport. It's like what Puma drove, right? On a weekend you wore Puma and went to the movies, So athleisure became very large. Then the spandex revolution came in and people realized that, products like this can be worn right through the day. People started valuing comfort, people started valuing freshness, people started valuing odor-free clothes. So the value started building up on those fronts. Then people also started wearing, the whole, if you remember, the sneaker culture came in where people were wearing suits and they were wearing sneakers, That was the 2010s. Then we started looking up at people like Steve Jobs and look at how he dresses up and how they dress down. So as the dress down culture came in, fashion became a lot more easy, unstructured, and a lot more, everyday wear, So then this concept of elevated casuals came in, which means casual hai lekin acha quality ka casual hai. So these were trends that constantly came in. Now you're also talking of things like embroidered shirts and all that. Then there was a specific thing which came because of the Bollywood and the celebrities, which was called the airport clothing or airport fashion, which the paparazzis clicked.
आपने बहुत अच्छा अभी बात किया airport clothing. So I came to know that you are a very big traveler. आप काफ़ी consulting वगैरह करते हैं. You have been in this industry. So can you take viewers to the life of Jaydeep Shetty? कि जयदीप शेट्टी अगर मैं बात करूं कि उनका लाइफ कैसे है, एक महीने की अगर लाइफ बात करूं, कैन यू रिलेट योर लाइफ विद द क्लोथिंग यू चूज एंड व्हाट क्लोथिंग यू वेयर, कौन से क्लोथिंग आप कहाँ पहनते हैं? कैन यू गिव अस अ ब्रीफ आइडिया?
Okay. So my first thing when I'm traveling, especially on consulting work, is to try and pack light, because nowadays, even if you're carrying one laptop bag and one cabin bag, they ask you to check in that cabin bag, which I don't like doing, So I try and travel as light as possible. I try and work on clothing which don't take up too much volume. I also,
supposingly, if you are traveling for 2 days or 3 days, so how many clothes you will carry and what kind of clothes you will carry?
I'll carry a pair of trousers which are lighter, which I can wear over 2 days, which I don't have to iron, easy iron. Usually will be a lycra blend, usually. Yeah, if it is, I'll also probably look at an elasticated trouser at time if I'm wearing a casual shirt. Yeah. I also work with a client who's very formal, then I have to wear formals. I don't have. I'm also a little unusual dresser because I wear linen even in the winters. So a lot of my clothing continues to be linen, and then I would, then I would layer it with a jacket or, with a pullover, whatever it is. But I like wearing linens right through. I feel they give me a lot of breathability. Socks are the only thing I'm very careful on, because socks, when you travel on flights, stay in your shoes the entire day, stink at the end of the day. So socks, I try and look for odor-free socks. That's something
odor-free socks means?
So there are these, these silver iron coating socks which you get in the market. Some of them are available online as well. So I try and buy those socks. So they don't.
Is it called bamboo socks?
Bamboo socks also is another option. There's another one which just has a silver iron coating.
Okay, and how do you search that online?
So I buy a particular brand which I know, but there are other brands as well which do similar socks.
Okay, now if I have to tell my users to buy that socks, how do you search that online?
I would look at odor-free socks. If you just do a Google search of odor-free socks, you'll get an array of socks which are odor-free.
Odor-free is good for the...
Is good enough.
For traveling?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. What about the t-shirts and shirts which you travel?
So, sir, most of the time I can't wear a t-shirt to my clients. Most of the time. Yeah. If I'm doing an evening dinner with that client, then there is an opportunity to wear a t-shirt. But if I stay at a hotel and I'm using the gym, then I carry a pair of sports clothes. Yeah. But typically would be track pants and a t-shirt. And then I would carry a plastic bag in which I will keep it, because I know I have to pack it back, it will be sweaty. So I carry a plastic bag with which I'll carry it back, because it has to be washed back home. But essentially I like traveling light. I think the biggest challenge is always the trouser on an aircraft. And the reason I also carry lighter jackets is because I don't have to sit and iron them. Otherwise, when you're traveling and you're staying at a hotel and it's very difficult to find.
So what kind of shirts and trousers you choose?
So like I said, almost most of my shirts are linen shirts. Yeah, I am not very conscious of the brands over there. I essentially look at the kind of fabric and the kind of fit it is. I tend to wear looser clothing that's looser, especially on work travel. Most clients I'm not expected to wear a jacket, but when I do, I usually carry either a woolen jacket or a linen jacket, either one of those. I'm conscious that I wear a good watch when I'm traveling. Although we all use our phones for this. Laptop is a must with me, so it travels wherever I go. But that's essentially it's pretty simple, and I choose relatively earthy basic color, so it's easier to coordinate things.
Okay, so basically if you're traveling for 3 days, जो मेरे को आपसे सुनने आया, you would carry 2 pairs of shirts, 2 pairs of trousers, one a nightwear.
Sir, if it's 2 days, I'll wear the same trouser 2 consecutive days.
And it will not get spoiled.
It won't get spoiled because usually वो airport से office है, office से वापस hotel है, अगले दिन वापस वही client के office जाना है. And I'll try and use a simple color like a khaki or a black, so it doesn't look.
And won't it get faded or won't it get crinkled?
No, sir. Most of these ones which I carry have a spandex, so they don't get crinkled. They're easy wear, non-iron.
Okay, and you have been wearing it over years.
In fact, I first bought one non-iron from Marks and Spencer in the 2010s, and now there are lots of brands which do it. I use something from Guess. It's called the Tech Trouser, and that works fantastically well for me.
And what are those products, if our viewers want to know?
That's a polyester lycra brand. That product. It's just a regular polyester lycra brand. I think it's called 4-Way Tech or something. It's available in the Guess stores. But sir, a lot of other brands now. Arrow is doing it. Lots of brands are doing similar products now.
So it is basically you're trying to say the feature is important, not
yes, sir. That's why Vibhor, I was saying कि पहले ना सिर्फ 2-4 ब्रांड ये करते थे. अभी इतने सारे इंडिपेंडेंट ब्रांड्स करते हैं. Like in trousers now, there's one company which is only doing trousers, and they're doing so well in the market. So there are brands like that.
So if our viewers have to try those brands, what they have to search online?
Many of these good brands, I would say non-iron trousers, travel trousers, lycra, polyester lycra, poly lycra trousers. These are standard words to look for. Or on Instagram, use those as hashtags.
And you will find
them, yes.
Guys, I think you got the cheat code. You should go out and try it out. So now, Jaydeep, coming to your core, your strength, you have been part of many startup companies. You have helped people build a lot of brands, a lot of companies. So, as our viewers would like to know, what kind of tips you have for a new startup founder? Today, who is any startup founder, उनको क्या tips देना चाहेंगे for the first year कि भाई क्या-क्या चीजें आपको नहीं करनी चाहिए और क्या-क्या चीजें आपको करनी चाहिए as a startup founder?
See, we have a very clear idea what you want to build. Make sure that there is a white space for that product line. Don't go completely on your gut alone. Talk to people, see if there really is an opportunity. How big is that addressable opportunity? If the addressable opportunity is good for you, go after it.
Do you mean total addressable market?
बिल्कुल.
TAM जो बोलते हैं.
The TAM जो बोलते हैं, हाँ.
And how do you check that?
So, आप कोई भी एक product ले लीजिए. Now, I'll tell you something counterintuitive, okay? Many people started building sustainable brands in 2017, 2018. Yeah, and they're all well-meaning, okay? But when you look at the world, in spite of all this hype around sustainability, you will see in the last 7 years, sir, the fast fashion brands have done well.
Why is it like that?
Because it is the media which is convincing you that sustainability is the order of the day. And if you look at what is happening now around the world, even the governments are going back on sustainability.
Why is it like that?
Because heads of state are now realizing business is more important than sustainability, survival today, and people. So the sustainability thing, if you were to build a sustainability brand, if everybody was into sustainable, recycled, upcycled, and it's all well-meaning, but the large companies which are doing recycle and upcycle, they're doing well. But the average person is not that conscious, because in India, which is still discovering brands, they're not still thinking of sustainability in as serious a way as it's supposed to be. So look at the actual trend. Knowing your addressable market, not very difficult. In the last 5 years, if you look at consumer data also, Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are growing far more rapidly than the Tier 1 cities. That is also because all these IT companies are setting up places in Coimbatore, Cochin, smaller cities are getting more and more young people working. Mysore. So these cities are growing a lot faster. 37% of the workforce by 2030 is going to be under 25 years.
Of India.
So now that's another opportunity you start looking at, because there's a whole new generation which is going to come into that segment. So the so-called Gen Z will become a fairly large component of our customer base in another 5 to 7 years, So we need to start, moving with that trend.
So as a startup, how do I prepare for that 2030? Today I am at 2025 November and I am talking about 2030. So it's a journey of 5 years. As a startup, how do I and our company or any other company who is a startup today, any other businessman who is thinking about 2030, how do you prepare for it?
For a startup, you always look at the immediate. See, whenever somebody work in a startup, always look at the immediate 2 years. वो जो 2030 वाला market है, you start getting in because you need your business today. You can't build a business saying 2030 में मेरा market बढ़ेगा. Start building it now. Start cultivating the younger audiences. There's a very famous advertisement of a poor Polish boy standing in front of a Mercedes showroom, and it says, you're a Mercedes customer much before you can afford one.
Okay, that is basically a desire built?
That's a desire being built, So you start building those desire. जब हम 8th standard, 9th standard में थे, तो हम अपने friends और भैया को देखते थे, यार जब मैं 18 साल का बनेगा, I want to be like him, When you're 18, you look at the 25-year-old. So people are always looking at the next. So start building an example for them, but try and get your core audience first. In entrepreneurship, think of the customer first in the initial period, and then start looking inward and processes and all that. Try and satisfy your customer. The most important thing for anybody starting up a consumer business, I will always say, don't put your costs, your fixed cost structure very high. Keep your costs as much variable as possible, because when you start building only enterprises, like tomorrow, Hindustan Lever wants to set up a company, they can afford to build factories and infrastructure before they launch the product. But always work lean, start lean and then start building. There is a phase, especially in a fashion brand, there's one tough journey which is 0 to 30 crores. 30 to 100 crores is not that difficult. 100 to 500 again difficult, That's how typically India operates. There's an obstacle that comes because you need to start looking inward, looking at adding new lines, expanding your portfolio. The third piece of advice, build your brand with confidence, with sharpness, but don't make it too sharp. And this is something I learned from Kishorji. Kishorji always told me, Kishore Biani, Kishorji always told me, don't build your brand too sharp. Because हो सकता है थोड़ी सी कुछ गलती होगी, you should keep it थोड़ा सा, you should be able to shift it. अगर आप उसको एकदम hard code करोगे ना, तो people will remember your brand stands for this only, you will not be able to go into something else. So always, Picasso had a famous saying very similar to that. He says you must have an idea of what you want to paint, but it should be a vague idea. Because जैसे painting बनता है, you can start evolving and fine tuning. So always build your brand with a certain amount of vagueness. कि ये I want to build this brand to be like this, but I'll also listen to what the customer is signaling me.
तो आपका बोलने का मतलब है start करूँ.
Yeah.
Don't be on two minds.
Don't be in two minds. Yes.
Start करूँ, but as my way progresses, keep on evolving and keep on adding and changing things. But is that okay as a startup?
Yeah, it is okay. And this is also what I think Elon Musk said, separate the signal from the noise, meaning you should know where you are, but also listen to the voice of the customer. If a customer says, oh, this is the product I like, this is the fit which is working. There's a brand I worked with, which is, I still work with them, which does women's luxury clothing, But the product which is flown with them is actually the luxury t-shirt, which they never thought of. The hero product has turned out to be something completely different.
And how has it happened?
It just happened because a few celebrities, a couple of Bollywood women started wearing them on one of the big talk shows, and suddenly it's taken off. So now those luxury t-shirts are a thing, Everybody's talking about the brand, but they want the luxury t-shirt, which is not their core product. But now they have to pivot somewhere to understand that let's push that luxury t-shirt. And that luxury t-shirt sells at 6,000 rupees a t-shirt.
But you mean to say they didn't start with that idea?
The idea was not that, but the market gave them a certain kind of feedback. let's assume you're doing a broad assortment, okay, which has formal, casual, and athleisure. Let's say for a moment that the formals is the one which everybody is buying. You start pivoting to that. If you start getting hard-coded saying, no, that is not the business I wanted to enter, then there's a little bit of a problem, you know.
तो आपका बोलने का मतलब है थोड़ा सा शार्प रहो बट नॉट बी फुल्ली शार्प.
हाँ. I would say go in a particular direction, be confident, but don't make it so sharp to the customer that the customer will only associate it with that one product line or that one promise that you have. So you're able to expand the brand in more ways.
Okay.
Don't keep it restrictive.
तो can you give a few tips as a startup कोई भी है तो how to avoid losses in the first few years?
That's a hard one because each business has a, see, I'll tell you, there are entrepreneurs go into entrepreneurship with two motives. One is to earn their own bread and make a living out of it. But there's also a certain cult of entrepreneurs who से मैं जिंदगी भर losses करूँगा लेकिन एक दिन मैं exit करूँगा 1.2-1.5 billion के साथ. So it depends on what your objective is.
But today we are talking on a perspective of a normal aspirational हम लोग Indians जो है we are 30-35 aspirational people. We want to do something big. हम लोग को कुछ बड़ा करना है. But हमें हिम्मत नहीं होती क्योंकि हमें लॉस का डर लगता है. तो but as you know India is the startup capital of the world today.
बिल्कुल.
So आपके 30 years of experience से 30 years of wisdom से people want to know 2-3 such tricks कि वो अपने use कर सके और अपने initial losses को बचा सके.
So I think you have to see the main thing that really takes it now. What always kills you is your fixed costs. Yeah, don't build up anything. I'm saying keep most of your costs as variable as possible, so that you always have something back. For example, if you're an entrepreneur, don't decide to take a very large office. Try and work with the least space you have. Try to work with the leanest teams that you have. Pick up people who are more passionate about the work versus just their salaries. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're building a small company, people must be able to see, people can't see a future in a startup in the first year. It's only when second year when the business starts getting traction that people start saying, okay, this company is doing 10 crores, 15 crores, now abhi meko dikh raha hai future, So that is how you have to build up. The other thing I would say is build your financial dashboards and your performance metrics very early in life. And always keep that as a standard thing. If you're doing a fashion business, even if your business is very small, always have a Monday review. कि last week यार business कितना हुआ था, क्या ठीक हुआ, क्या नहीं हुआ, inventory कितना है, क्या माल return हुआ, क्या नहीं हुआ. Put all your KPIs in place because that is what drives it. And especially for entrepreneurs who come from wealth, I always say when you're doing a startup, you have to be able to do the donkey labor. And unfortunately, there's always donkey labor in any kind of an industry.
So Jaydeep, would like to again ask you, startup के बारे में आपको I think you have one of the best knowledges of the industry, fashion industry में. तो I think science सबके लिए एक ही रहता है. So our viewers would like to know कि what challenges we face as a startup culture and how do you go through those challenges in a manner where you don't face a problem and you are able to go through a comfortable, safe journey.
So I think first is the risk appetite of the entrepreneur. You got to realize that there's a certain amount of gestation time in fashion that it takes. पहला challenge ये होता है ना कि अपने को supply base करना. Because you don't have the minimums to work with mills, especially if you want to do print program, yarn dye. So you need all those minimums. So in the beginning, a lot of fashion entrepreneurs have to start with stock fabrics, export surpluses, so they have to work with smaller amounts of material, and then also finding workshops. The large workshops which are converting, they don't want to work with small quantity because you're going to tell them I'm only going to make 80 pieces, 100 pieces, because they are used to working for the big guys who are making 4,000 pieces. So sometimes it's easier to contract a smaller workshop and do your product. So that's one thing. Like if you want to do denim, there's a certain amount of meterage that you have, that you have to wash. So all those economics become a little difficult, but you always work around the challenges. So you have to work with people who believe in you and believe that you can grow. Yeah. Attracting talent is another challenge because
नहीं, तो आपने अभी फर्स्ट बोला कि यू शुड बी, आपका जो मेन गाइडलाइन था कि यू शुड बी हैविंग योर ओनर्स पैशन.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल पैशन इज एवरीथिंग. आई मीन
एंड वो पैशन के बियॉन्ड आपको काम करना चाहिए. वट एवर द पैशन इज डूइंग एज अ स्टार्टअप यू शुड डू. देन व्हाट इज योर सेकंड पॉइंट?
और वो पैशन जो है ना वो आपके प्रोडक्ट पे होना चाहिए. फैशन में मतलब आपका पैशन होना चाहिए. यू कांट लुक एट एनीथिंग जस्ट एज अ बिजनेस, यू नो. So that has to be. Second is finding the right supply chain, you know, finding the right people to supply to you, whether it's a mill, whether it's your fabric agent, or whether it is your conversion workshop. You know, all these are important because you got to find people who are reliable, who will give you priority. Because you're making 100 pieces or 200 pieces in a shirt, you want the guy to pay equal attention to you as he's paying for his 4,000 pieces customer. So those people are important. Try and work with people who will always pick up your call because गारमेंट इंडस्ट्री में प्रॉब्लम है ना, ये डिले डिलीवरी का बहुत होता है. मिलने टाइम पे फैब्रिक सप्लाई नहीं किया, कन्वर्टर ने ठीक से कन्वर्ट नहीं किया, किसी और का माल प्रायोरिटी पे वो बना रहा है. तो दीज आर चैलेंजेस दैट यू हैव. Third one is attracting talent. You know, it's very important to build the talent pool. And in the beginning, somebody who's leaving a comfortable corporate job will only join and work with you because he sees your passion to grow that business. So he buys not into the company that you're building, but he buys into you as an entrepreneur. And you've got to nurture that talent and bring them in early. In some cases where it's feasible, you should also grant stock options to people, you know, because sometimes, you know, the guy is getting 12 lakhs, 15 lakhs a year and, you know, you can't afford to pay that kind of money. You tell, look, will you work with me for 5 or 8 lakhs and, you know, I'll give you stock options in the company. So there are other ways of compensating people, you know, that's one thing. Third is how you build your technology. Remember, you cannot afford a large tech stack and all large ERPs cost a lot of money. So try and work with a lot of homegrown things, you know. There are simple things like Unicommerce and, you know, plug and play kind of tools that are available. Work with Zoho CRM. You don't need to invest in a large CRM, you know. Work with Shopify because it's easy to start up. Try and keep those kind of cost structures very low. The more you work on a SaaS model and not do a upfront cost, it'll serve you well in the future. And then, you know, build the creature comforts of the office and the spaces as you start building money. I'm saying, पैसे कमाओ फिर खर्च करो. ये if you start खर्च करना पहले, then you'll become like that brand जिसने 50 लाख का एक कैंपेन बना दिया, 1 करोड़ डाल दिया, you know, and then finally वो प्रोडक्ट किसी ने खरीदा नहीं. But product is important. Your entire focus in the beginning should be product and customer, and then build everything around that.
So आपने यूजर्स को 3 गाइडेंस बहुत अच्छे से दिया. एक आपने बोला कि प्रोडक्ट का अच्छे से बिल्ड करो. तो हाउ मेनी फीडबैक्स एज अ स्टार्टअप you should take from a customer to at least go and scale up?
The initial feedback is important, yeah. In customers, you have to see what is relevant feedback and what is noise, okay. Sometimes you get feedback from customers who are not your core. You got to understand कि ये customer का feedback valid है, but this is not the customer I was targeting. Yes, he or she bought my product, but you know, that's not the core. Like a customer, and remember, one of the things the customers will always give you feedback in a new product, यार आपका price लेकिन महंगा था, I wish you were cheaper. That's not genuinely feedback, because even when we go to a hotel, when we eat at a restaurant, we'll always say, I wish it was cheaper. But then, you know, I think you value things over a period of time. So I would not always take price feedback. I would take price feedback at a pre-launch test level, but not necessarily all the time. But customer feedback on quality of fit, where it is working and not working for them, or if they come with a very relevant comparison that I bought the same product in this brand, but you know, that's also a well-known brand, but you were significantly more expensive. I would take some relevant feedback. Again, repeating myself, separate the signal from the noise, you know.
आपने एक बोला core. You just mentioned the word core. So what is the meaning of a core for our audience?
See, core का मतलब है जो कस्टमर है जो 60% आपका माल खरीदने वाला है, नॉट जस्ट खरीदने वाला है, आपको पता है ये रिटर्निंग कस्टमर है. ये कस्टमर है जिसका मेरा प्रोडक्ट 60%, 70% of his wardrobe needs I can service. Oh, I know Vibhor, and Vibhor goes to, he goes to work. He needs 3 formal shirts, 3 smart casual shirts. He needs 3 chinos. Now, yeah, I've got a picture of that customer. Now, I know, like Vibhor, there are 3 lakh or more Vibhors in the market. Now, I'm targeting that entire base. How do I find them on Instagram? How do I increase my addressable market? Can I find him through Google? Is Vibhor an IT specialist? Is he a...
तो आपका बोलने का मतलब है बीइंग अ स्टार्टअप 60-70% अगर आपका कोर मीट होता है
जी
दैट कस्टमर पे, आपको उसके फीडबैक पे सीरियसली काम करना चाहिए.
बहुत ही बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल.
एंड यू शुड ट्राई एंड सर्व दैट कस्टमर.
या
दैट्स अ वेरी ब्रिलियंट, वेल सेड. सो जयदीप, आपने बोला कि मैं फैशन में 30 साल से कर रहा हूँ. सो एवरीवन इज लाइक अब क्या आएगा नेक्स्ट, अब क्या आएगा नेक्स्ट, अब नेक्स्ट क्या होने वाला है. अभी ये भी आ गया, वो भी आ गया. अभी तो घर पे मेरे को 15 मिनट में डिलीवरी आ जाती है. मैं कोई भी कपड़े ऑर्डर करूँ स्विगी से, इंस्टामार्ट से, ब्लिंकिट से, अमेजन में ऑर्डर करूँ मेरे को प्राइम पे नेक्स्ट डे मिल जाता है. मिंत्रा में ऑर्डर करूँ मेरे को 3 दिन में मिल जाता है.
बिल्कुल.
बाजू में इतने सारे स्टोर्स खुल गए हैं, इतना सब चीज़ हो गया है, इतना डिसरप्शन हो गया है. बट फिर भी आज भी मैं हूँ या कोई भी है, आज भी हम वो छोटे छोटे चीज़ों को वैल्यू करते हैं कि जो लगता है कि ये यार दिस इज़ समथिंग वेरी गुड. आज भी मैं जाके अगर कोई जाके शॉप में ख़रीदूँगा, यूनिक्लो जैसे दुकान में गया, या मैं अच्छे से ट्राई करना चाहूँगा, फिट देखूँगा, या रेमंड्स में जाके कपड़े सिलवाना चाहूँगा, वो अभी भी आज भी मेरे को वो चीज़ पसंद है कि कोई मेरे को ध्यान दे रहा है या कुछ कर रहा है. सो आवर व्यूअर्स वांट टू नो कि अगले 4-5 साल में फैशन इंडस्ट्री में आपका क्या प्रेडिक्शन है, क्या क्या होने वाला है?
एक तो देखिए, एक तो खास करके इंडिया में लास्ट कुछ मे बी 5 to 10 ईयर में इंडिया में एक प्राइड आ गया है, यू नो. और ये हमारी जो पहले जो हमारी ख्वाहिशें थी ना, हम फ्रांस में जाएंगे, उधर जाके खरीदेंगे, सिंगापुर में खरीदते हैं, तो आई थिंक वो सडनली हमको लगता है यार हमको इंडिया पसंद है, यू नो. आजकल हम हॉलीडे भी सोचते हैं, हम सोचते हैं शिमला जाएंगे, देहरादून जाएंगे, केरला जाएंगे. दैट होल लव फॉर इंडिया एंड दैट इंडिया कैन डू थिंग्स वेल हैज़ कम इन, विच इज व्हाई यू हैव अ रिसर्जेंस ऑफ इंडियन ब्रांड. सो मेरे ख्याल से ये जो डिफ्रेंसिएशन और ये वेस्टर्न जो एस्पिरेशन था कितने सालों से, आई थिंक वो कम होते जाएगा. बिकॉज everybody believes for various reasons, the way the political structures are, the way the tariffs are and everything, people are realizing we can be self-sufficient, Indians can do great products, and Indians are making great products, especially in fashion. So I feel that resurgence is going to come. We will not start aspiring to think only because it comes from America or Europe or Singapore. So I think that pride will come in. That's one big disruption. I think the discovery process of finding a new brand will probably change. It will not be, no longer will be Google and the marketplace. I think people will start using AI very, very actively. So it's very difficult to predict, but how people discover will change, you know. I see a situation where online brands will go offline, as they already started doing. If you look at brands like Snitch and Bear House, offline brands will go more aggressively online. Finally, that dividing line between online and offline will go, and we will probably not even use these phrases 5 years from now. I think that is where I see fashion going, and I think India will continue to remain a consumption market.
आपके हिसाब से एज अ कस्टमर इंडिया में मैं कुछ भी कपड़ा खरीदने चाहूँ, मेरे को इजीली अवेलेबल रहेगा, मेरे को फॉरेन ब्रांड्स पे या फॉरेन जाके खरीदने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, इंडिया में मेरे को फैशनेबल क्लोथिंग मिल जाएगा.
आई एम pretty sure on that, yeah.
फैशनेबल क्लोथिंग विद कंफर्ट मिलेगा.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at a price which an Indian customer would like to pay.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, that's what absolutely. Because, and I think probably the Indian brands will probably deliver more value than the foreign brands as well. But that's a difficult one to predict.
So, आपके हिसाब से हमारा इंडिया आगे बढ़ रहा है?
बिल्कुल sir, and I think even over the next 5-6 years in a business like fashion, same store growth of 8 to 12% year on year, which is a good growth rate, is not difficult at all.
That's wonderful to know, sir. That's wonderful to know. टाइम बहुत कम है आज, तो आप अपना एफर्ट दे के आए बॉम्बे से, बहुत अच्छा लगा. We would like to love you, have more viewers to understand more on startups and team building and leadership and how fashion industry is evolving. दोबारा आपसे मौका लूँगा करने का.
बिल्कुल सर, it's been a pleasure actually. I personally love Calcutta, one of my favorite cities along with Amritsar. So it's always a great thing to be here and be with you.
No, thank you so much for joining us and giving us an opportunity. I hope our viewers have learned a lot of things today from you. And उनको अगर कुछ भी connect रहेगा, so they have our channel and they can message on the channel, and any queries you can respond to them.
Happy to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.